January 2024. Well, technically this is February 2024, towards the end of it. And now we are doing our top games of January 2024.
Yes, just when you thought you were rid of us doing these monthly videos. You never thought you were rid of us, but
yes.
A little bit late on the uptake this time, but this is January.
And we're back, and hello everyone, I'm Stella, and this is Tarrant from Meeple University. And these are our videos of the games that we enjoy in January, whether we receive the games from, whether we have been commissioned for it, whether it's prototype or not, or whether it's a review copy. So either way, here are our opinions completely.
And these are new to us games in January, as is always the case. There's a little bit of hangover here from some games that were released last year and appeared in various reviewers' top 10 lists from 2023
yes.
because we just didn't quite get to them in that tiny little calendar window between Essen and the end of the year. It's such a tough time, right? It's
very tough.
No, it's not tough. It's not tough at all.
For you. No.
But no, so this is, we will go through everything that was new to us in January that we really liked.
Yep, and let us know what's your favorite games of January. What have you found so far this year? Anything excited about? Please let us know in the comments. Okay, my number 5 is Sonic Roll. I mean, roll, drum roll, and Sonic Roll. I still late for the joke. Sonic Roll. This is the newest Sonic the Hedgehog board game based on a video game.
Yes.
This is a cooperative game, sort of. It can be a little bit competitive. We did how to play video on the Dice Tower, and we did a playthrough video on Meeple University. And if we have any videos linked to these games, we will put it in the description below if you're interested in checking it out. But this is a cooperative game where you roll. It's a roll and place dice.
Yes, it's a roll and re-roll and place.
Yes.
And you're trying to fulfill cards. You're trying to get enough cards down to effectively it's treated as clearing the little platform zone. It's like you're in a side-scrolling platform, and rolling the dice and placing them gets you through it. And also helps you to fight the boss and fight enemies who come at you and so forth.
This is dice rolling. Look, I'm normally not a big... I feel like I'm not that lucky. I feel like dice hates me, whatever. But this is kind of like semi-cooperative, so that's okay. And there's a lot of ways to mitigate the dice roll. And there are different powers that let you roll the dice. It feels like very retro, very fun to play this. And Tarrant has played Sonic a lot.
Sonic 2.
Sonic 2,
Sonic 2 was one of my top games on the old Sega Mega Drive, back when games were games.
Games were games. So these are still games. Games
Trying
are still games.
Trying to sound old.
Yeah, well, you're not that old. I'm older. Anyways, so Sonic is my number 5. It's a fun roll and placement cooperative, and then I do like the fact that, like in the video games, it's not fully cooperative. So like, you know, Sonic, Rayman, all that sort of like cooperative games, you still need to look after your own scoring at the end of the game.
Yeah, it's got a non-shared score like you've got up in the top corners of a video game.
Yes, I appreciate that, and I feel it feels like the video games. And more number 5.
Number 5 for me was Age of Innovation, a Terra Mystica game. I'm sure you will have heard most about this out there. I think this is very much a patch on Terra Mystica. I think you see this a lot, right? When games have been out there, particularly they've been on BGA, a lot of people can play them a lot of times. All the really classic games get their version 2.0 or their version, maybe even just version 1.1. It's like a little tweak, little patch on it. Visa Odin had Norwegians, Vladimir Vattel's...
Through the Ages?
Through the Ages. Through the Ages had a new Story of Civilization.
Yes.
So Age of Innovation is very much Terra Mystica with couple of new things to do and some new factions and some things like that.
Mind you though, this is not 2.0. Maybe this is maybe 3.0 because there's like Terra Nova, there's Project Gaia, and something else. I'm sure I missed something else, the expansions.
Yeah. So I like this. Terra Mystica I always preferred Gaia Project to Terra Mystica. So I would say that Age of Innovation it doesn't fully excite me, but it is a really solid game, and it does some nice things, introduces some nice competition and race for some point scoring things, which I think adds a really nice element to it.
Yeah. Track's very fun and then tweaks a little bit here and there. So I definitely enjoy that as well.
I think Terra Mystica, it has always, one of the things I still think it almost does better than anything else is the way it forces you to interact on the map. There's not
That's
that
true.
many Euros that really force it that way these days. The fact that you have to come in next to somebody to make stuff cheaper, and there's a positive player interaction, but then that also forces you to be really aggressive in cutting each other off. So, I don't know. It's you don't see it that often.
No,
and it's
you
still a
don't.
really good mechanism.
I think if I have not played Terra Mystica or Project Gaia at all, then it would have been in my top list. But because I have, so this is just a re-implementation or just like a fixes, then didn't make it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So I do
was
like
nothing.
that,
There was
yeah.
nothing hugely for a game called Age of Innovation.
Yes.
Ironically, there was nothing huge and new here. It was a tweak on what we knew.
Yeah, enjoyable, but it's nothing new. My number 4 game is Express Rouge. This is a fully cooperative game. It's about pickup and delivery, where you can also upgrade your
Logistics.
logistics and things. It's very clever. And this lets the player have slightly asymmetric powers to start with, and then you can upgrade your movement in a very clever way with the tracking on a cube, and hence you must work in almost like Pandemic, but it's not like Pandemic. You still have more control over everything that happens.
Yeah, it's an interesting twist on Pandemic because instead of having your own pawn that you move around, everyone shares the pawns,
Yes.
but everyone has upgraded them personally. So I might be able to move a certain colour 2 or 3 spaces. You may only be able to move them 1 space. And so we need to... it's like in Pandemic, you've got to move your piece to where it's most relevant. In this one, you want to time it so that you're moving the pieces that are strongest for you. So it's a really nice, different take.
Exactly. And I love the upgrades you can do in here as well. And I feel like it's probably... It's not even Pandemic. It still have Pandemic 2.0, Pandemic 3.0.
It's a different... I mean, it's in that same... You're
that's
fighting fires and trying to progress your objectives. But it takes a different twist on it.
Yeah, which I really love that twist, moving the same pawn, like everyone's just moving the same truck or whatever it is, a train, plane, the 3 different ones, and then you need to time everything correctly so you can deliver at the right time. And fighting fires is great, and it is like we've lost a few times as well.
And it's ultimately a pick up and deliver game. So
Yeah.
you're grabbing parcels and moving them to other places, then using them either towards your objective or to upgrade.
So because of that twist, this is on my number 4.
Number 4 for me is Darwin's Journey. We don't have the copy here to show you. So Darwin's Journey, it was a big, very popular Euro that came out last year. And this is, I guess in many ways, it's a worker placement. It kind of feels at times like a typical 5-action Euro because you've got this track to go on, this track to go on, these things to engine build. There's sort of 4 main actions. You've got a player board where you're trying to do lots of upgrades. So all of that feels very familiar, and it's very point salady. But I like that there are lots of different ways of going about things. You've got each of your workers, it almost comes back to that express route thing. You've got workers that you can upgrade with different seals, and then that worker becomes more powerful at a certain action. So you place it you want to place that one at a given time rather than that one. And then there are certain actions, the whole suite of worker placement actions you can do and upgrade to, but you can only take them if you're using a worker which has the right combination of seals. There's a fair bit of planning that goes into that. And I think that was pretty good. There was contracts to meet. It linked a lot of things together.
Me. I haven't played it yet, but I am trying to organize my play of Darwin's Journey because of what Tarrant said. Like, oh, it sounds like I really like it. And you were like, oh, it sounds like something that you like to play. It's, you play with some friends, and I was unable to play at that time. So I'm really looking forward to. You might see it again in the future months' top games of the month. Who knows if I like it.
Indeed. And I think it does hit a bit of that, I'm always looking for player interaction, and it does have competitive worker placement. It also has certain things where you want to get in earlier to get the benefits or even lock your opponents out.
I think that's the kind of like the formula that Tarrant likes, the interaction and afraid to lose something and then punishing. I think, hey, if you have that sort of games, please recommend Tarrant. You might just like snatch it and then love it and then take it to bed. I don't know, whatever. So how are you doing, by the way? I'm just gonna share what's been going on behind the screen. I've been like unwell for a bit. It's not COVID, it's just like trying to catch up with everything. My sister's coming, and then she's coming with one of her kids, a 10-year-old, 9 and a bit year old niece, and I've been like enjoying going around with them, and I'm very excited to try to get her to play some of the Harbour games. So I got some Harbour games from the recent CanCon. They have it on sale. It was like, it's a pretty good price, so I got a few. So I'm ready to play some Harbour game for my 9-year-old niece, and she's quite excited. She's been playing video games with me. Okay, I've got to have to admit, like, please don't judge me. I played Diablo with her for a few minutes. I know, Diablo is just like 18 years old. She's only 9. But I can like skip past the gory bit. I was like, no, this is fake. This is like fake blood. Like her mom was like next to her. So it's like, that might be okay. Anyways, just a few updates.
A few of the Harbour games look pretty fun. I saw the snail racing one where it's in a tin and the snail's magnet over the side.
Yes.
They do a good job. They did a good job.
Actually, I got some as well for the kids that live next door, 4-year-old. So I was like, oh yeah, that's good. And then I got Joy's kids. Miles, I got it for like 2+. So like maybe like a year until, well, just less than a year until he can play it. But hey, that's it. Well, please recommend me any Harbour games that is good for almost 2-year-old, around 4-year-old, and 10-year-old. Then I'll be like, oh yeah, there's one that was recommended to me, but I couldn't find it in Australia. It's called My First Orchard Garden or something like that. Yeah, have you heard of it?
I think I have.
Yeah, so that one's like, I really need to play that one day. And then there's Rhino Heroes, the big box game. I've got that, and the snail one. And then there's Animals Upon Animals Junior, I think it's called. Anyways, let's get to your next game. Is it mine?
Yours.
Oh, mine. Yes, it's my next game. The Heroes of Might and Magic 3, the board game, is my next one. I have been addicted playing video games growing up from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then not so much as 7, I think, just basically 1 to 6. And here is the board game. So naturally, when this came out, I'm like, oh my gosh, is this for real? Like the board game version of the video games that I've been playing a lot of, and naturally excited about until I play it. And then, is this just, how is it? How does it feel? It has got these things that in the video games, but they simplify a lot of them, like resources. There's only 3 different resources. For example, gold, valuables, needs to be crystal, and then the rocks or building materials. It's like ore or something like that, I think it's called. Anyways, and then the heroes that you can recruit and the battle. It's simplified, but then there's these expansions that has got these extra bits and pieces. And I think that is good. So it's not sort of overwhelming to begin with. And we have the how to play videos with 10 videos, and then the gameplay or playthrough videos as well. And I just like to explore more. I like heroes, and I think this is a good representation of the video game. Not too complex as the video game, simple, and also it's quite balanced. Like all of the games that we play, it's pretty balanced. It's like a great climax at the end.
Yeah, it's a game that has a lot of different styles. It's got clash scenarios where you're fighting against the other players to achieve something first. There's also cooperative versions, team versions, and so on.
Yes.
And it very much does have that, like Diablo as well, that style where you are moving around through, in this case, it's a hex grid, and then every time you find something good, you get into a little battle with the monsters that you find. It's like a video game. And as you get stronger, you can just like sweep away the weaker monsters and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I think it's got a great feeling of the video game without being like super complex. It's already like there are some little bits and pieces, but you don't want that like exactly like the video games, because that's a bit too much. And that's Heroes. And that's number 3. not because this is the third of the board game, but the first board game is made based on Heroes of Might and Magic 3.
Yes, which was the most popular of the video games.
Yes.
My number 3 is Wormsspan, the Wingspan game based on dragons. You know, it was announced in early January. Big questions floating around. Was it just a reskin? Was it a game of its own? It's a game of its own, and it does feel... You know, it looks so similar to Wingspan when you start, but it feels so different when you actually get in and play. And I definitely enjoyed it. I always enjoyed Wingspan as well. This one I found it was paced completely different. It was slower to get going. It was tougher to get your resources. But then you could really make some huge combos that paid off at the end. And it could be quite satisfying. It could be quite frustrating as well if you if you didn't get those combos going. Yes. But yeah, it made it feel different, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. And it is, I think the actions that all of the different dragons do are a little bit simpler than or less exotic and less varied than the birds in Wingspan. But it all clicked together really well, and it had a good Euro feel. So yeah, I very much enjoyed Wormsspan.
It is a great game. It's like a step up from Wingspan. And I feel like the theme for Wingspan for, gateway games I wouldn't say it's like Gateway plus, but it's an easier entry level than Wormsspan. And the theme is more birds, almost everyone likes birds. And this is more like gamer game because it's dragon as well. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean the theme is the theme for me. It's just another flying thing.
Okay.
But
another flying thing.
But it is. I do think it is. Although elements of it feel simpler, it is a more gamer version. No doubt.
It's great. It's a great game. My number 2 is, it's actually, I don't usually do expansion, but this is expansion. It's Living Forest Kodama expansion. This is the expansion of Living Forest, also available on BGA, Board Game Arena, wink. And we have played on Board Game Arena, we have played physical game. And this brings one thing that I think is maybe slightly weak in the base game, I feel. This is why this is my number 2, which is the lotus flower. So I feel like in the base game, the lotus flower feels a bit weak. You have to collect 12 to win the game. And then in the meantime, it just doesn't do anything. This one, the majority of it brings is that it will bring something valuable. So you can recruit extra character. It can do something else other than just endgame points for the game. So,
yeah, you spend the lotus on these Kodama cards, and then those Kodama cards you can then use for other actions, which either let you draw more stuff or they link with the trees or things. So it intertwines things a little bit more than the base game. Base game was fairly railroaded once you were in your strategy, and this one mingles things a bit.
Yes, I love it. I mean, I love the base game, and hence I love this. So
yeah, base game was your number 2 of the year a couple of years ago. It was very much one that you enjoyed. Yeah,
maybe it should be number 1, but it's very close. Anyways, it's the expansion. Kodama. If you've been enjoying the base game, I would highly recommend the expansion.
And it's back. My number 2, Express Route. I said a lot about what I enjoyed about it before. I really like the innovation and the way it subverts what we're so used to in a map-based cooperative game by giving everyone control over the same things but giving them different levels of control. The other thing which I really liked as an innovation, I didn't mention this one before, but the realism of the logistics feels really clever because you've got 3 trucks which can drive all around the US, and then you've got 1 plane which can go between the 6 airports. And it's like that whole logistics thing of the last kilometer is... there's logistics to warehouses and then there's the last kilometre. This has that feel because to get parcels a large distance across the country, you want to take them to an airport, let the aeroplane pick them up and take them over the other side, and then let a truck do the last little bit. And so that's the first time, I don't think I've ever seen that aspect of logistics in a game before. There may be some out there, don't quote me on it, but it's the first time I'd seen it, and I really found that a fun thing to play with as well.
I agree.
Yeah, all these things. It's a tough game.
Yeah, no,
and it's tough to work out.
It's not easy.
It's very tough to work out when to change from upgrading to winning, because you need to deliver 10 things. 10 parcels, sorry, not 10. You need to deliver 8 parcels, but each time you spend one for an upgrade, that no longer counts towards your win condition. So you really do have to time when to start going for the win. So yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, and you didn't say it earlier because you have to hold something back for your own segment.
Yes, I couldn't say everything I liked about it in your segment, or I would have given away that it was coming.
Good strategy. Maybe I have that also.
Maybe.
Maybe. And another one is back. Wormsspan is my number one. What Tarrant said, and I also held back something. Wormsspan is a step up from Wingspan. I have been enjoying Wingspan also on Board Game Arena. Now, this is a step up. Resources are pretty hard. Now, I appreciate that there's no dice in this game, so you have more control over what resources you get. And Tarrant mentioned about being a little bit frustrated getting the right combo. I feel like in Wormsspan you have a better chance of getting it without getting these big combos. So there's a lot of ways for points, and in Wingspan, most of the games in Wingspan, I get a bit frustrated of the things that I don't get and I can't really activate or whatever reason. So, and that's why this is number one. No dice roll, more satisfying combo for me, and still have the feeling of Wingspan, the good part that I like. It's great game.
And so finally we come to my top game for January, and it is Triumph. Once again, we do not have the physical copy here. It was a prototype that we played, and I've moved that on to another reviewer. So it's very interesting because it kind of has this wargamey feel, but it is very much, and it looks wargamey, but it's very much a Euro game. And you are, your family's when the Roman Republic collapsed and went to the Roman Empire. And like all games that fit within that theme, you're trying to work with and against the other players over a shared space. Those games, they're all about influence. They're all about getting influence in there. So here you're bidding on the actions. Every one of the actions, and there's 5 of them, requires you to bid a card between 0 and 5, and then whoever has bid the highest card gets the best of the actions, reducing until whoever gets the lowest one only gets this really feeble consolation prize. And then a big part of the action is paying for and putting legions out on the board to fight barbarians. That helps to spread the Roman Empire. As the empire spreads, it opens up more places for area control, because then there's this low count area control game, which is worth a big part of the points. And I mean low count because you've got to scrabble here and there to get 1 cube, 2 cubes across a whole lot of space, and that becomes a huge part of the game. So it's fascinating. It's a very interactive competitive Euro because the action gets so weak if you don't bid the most, and you've really got to work out what you want.
Yep, I quite enjoyed it as well. As Tarrant said, it was like, oh no, is it a war game? But it's not. It's actually a Euro game. I mean, I'm a little bit too ginger for war game. That's why I quite enjoyed it as well. And getting a little bit frustrated because I didn't bid enough. And I was like, oh no. It's a really smart card play as well with the bidding. I wouldn't say Concordia, but
it just feels it for the theme.
Yeah, just for that bit.
And there are law cards. They're like special action cards, and they're moderately powerful. They really add some chaos into the game.
And that's all our top games. Hopefully this is something that you're interested in, and let us know what's your top game. And thank you so much for watching. Hit like if you like, and see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.